fight.
Well, we want to turn to some breaking news out of Ukraine. President Biden today announced another $1 billion in military aid that includes anti-ship rocket systems and rounds for howitzers.
A new development in Russia's attack of Ukraine. Families of 2 Americans who went to Ukraine to aid in the fight against Russia tonight say their loved ones have been missing for a week and may have been captured by the Russians. Alexander John Robert Druki and Andy Tainyuk-Wen were last seen June 9th.
According to Russian sources, 2 Americans have now been taken as POWs. The last time they were seen was about a week ago. They were engaged with an armored vehicle, at which point all sign of them disappeared. Now, we know what happened to the 2 Brits and 1 Moroccan who were recently captured. And these are only the guys that we're hearing about in Western media. You're not going to receive the same protections you would if you were fighting in a conventional war, a Western government versus Western government. You're dealing with an Eastern people, and they don't play by the same set of rules. Those 2 Brits have been sentenced to death, as has the Moroccan. The Brits, one of them was in the Ukrainian Marines, and the other appears to have maybe been fighting for a conventional Ukrainian military force. I'm not sure about the third one, and that's important. And there's also no mention of who the Americans were serving with. They were last seen conducting anti-armor operations, and they've been missing for over a week. Now, many of us for some time have been saying the Ukraine Legion is a trap. If you head over there, for whatever reason, there's a good probability the Ukraine Legion will tell you no. I've seen story after story of people heading there who have been turned away by the Ukraine Legion, even guys who have prior military experience. So what ends up happening in a lot of cases, and I think this might even be part of a broader unofficial strategy by the Ukrainians, is to get as many bodies to the front as possible, as quickly as possible. And the fastest way to do that is to swell the ranks of shady paramilitary groups like the Carpathian Sikh and Azov. Insider today did a beautiful report on the Carpathian Sikh, and they removed any and all mention of their ideology. There were no flags or symbols that would indicate that their belief system would be very incompatible with the Western governments that are arming them right now. The most frightening thing about this is that some of these groups, like the Carpathian Sikh, have gone from maybe 100 plus members to over 700 active members as civilians and international civilians have joined their ranks and swelled their numbers, turning them into very formidable fighting forces that now have quite a bit of experience under their belt. And it's very likely that certain groups from other countries are exploiting this opportunity to get war fighting experience so they can then bring it back to their own home country, kind of like what we were seeing in Syria. This whole video is meant to be a cautionary tale. Take a look at this rally. See their numbers and realize how much these groups have grown. If you end up fighting under one of these formations, it's very likely that you will have major legal trouble when you return to your home country. Even though they're supportive of your efforts right now, when you get back and more information comes out, it could be quite a problem. Now, I will say this about the Ukrainians. At least unlike the Taiwanese, they were openly encouraging people to go out and get training, get experience, and buy arms and equipment. The Taiwanese are leaving their people to be sitting ducks when they eventually get invaded by the Chinese. That being said, these are not groups that we in the West want to be openly arming. And I'm pretty based on the idea of individuals being able to have access to the same type of stuff that their average infantryman has access to, because it's your natural right. And in theory, this will help prevent totalitarianism. However, this is not the conflict we need to be wading into. And you can see that based on the type of personalities who have been able to gain incredible amounts of power while this conflict has raged on. Look at the groups that we armed in Syria. Look what happened to them. Look at how they changed and they morphed. Do you think that these organizations, after they have gained this much influence in this conflict, do you think that their influence is going to diminish with time or increase with time? Why do we want to help increase their influence when their worldviews are incompatible with ours? Ultimately, the point I'm getting at here, and you need to be very cautious should you decide to go, that there's a really good probability that you're going to be told no by the Ukrainian government. And there's other opportunities for volunteering, especially in border nations, and assisting in more of a humanitarian role that might be better spent. Your time might be better spent, and your safety will certainly be at a much higher level than if you go there, you're told no by the Ukraine Legion, and then you're forced essentially to fight with one of these shady paramilitary groups because you feel like you have pretty much spent all your money. You've got to do something. You've got to prove yourself. You've got to prove yourself to the people back home, and you end up with one of these groups. You already don't speak the language. It's very likely that they're not going to fully get you up to speed with their standard operating procedures. Because if you've got 10 dudes in a squad and they're all doing different things when reacting to contact, some of them might have experience, some of them might not, there's a problem. You all need to be on the same page, and it's not likely that you're going to get the level of training or conditioning that you need to effectively take the field against now a very experienced and hardened Russian army. Just because you have experience fighting in other conflicts possibly, that doesn't mean you're ready for this next generation of warfare. Just because you have experience in some of these weapons doesn't mean they're going to utilize you as a trainer or an instructor. It appears in many cases, while they're pulling at the heartstrings to get guys there who have that training or experience, trying to sell them a bill of goods like they'll actually be able to do that when they get in country, they're simply handing them a rifle and ordering them to the front. That's what's happening. Do not go. This is very dangerous, and if you're captured, we've seen what the consequences are. So if you're good with that, if you're good knowing that maybe if you don't get captured, that you get injured or seriously maimed, that you will be the one paying for that damage to your body for the rest of your life, both mentally and financially, because there is no veteran affairs of the Ukraine. That's not a thing. That's not going to take care of you should you return to your home country either. There's no guarantees in war, and there's no guarantees in this. Be cautious if you are already there and you are watching this video. Make sure you have a good exit plan in place, because you will be abandoned at the last minute should this all unravel. Because we have seen, for example, the Ukrainians are no longer sending military hardware to the front because it'll be destroyed en route. So it's likely being used to harden Kiev right now. All that hardware, all that equipment is not making it to the front lines that we keep sending there. It's being held in reserve. So you will be on your own with a rifle and maybe an anti-tank weapon and a couple guys with almost no experience. So make a smart decision when it comes to all this. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.